In today's video, I'm going to tell you how I got rid of my belly fat and finally got lean, and give you a full beginner's guide to fat loss and dieting. Now listen, bro, for as long as I can remember, I wanted to have a good body, something like you'd see in Fight Club with Brad Pitt, or Chris Hemsworth as Thor, or Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Just the ripped, shredded physique that every guy always dreams of. But for most of my life, I took the black pill route, thinking that only guys with great genetics can get ripped, get shredded, and get jacked. But just so you guys know that I'm not BSing you, this is what I used to look like. You can see just a very average guy. I was never someone who had amazing genetics to start off with, but I was able to completely transform my physique. And to be honest, it was just by implementing a few simple practices and changing some pretty simple things in my life. And in this video, I'll explain exactly how you can do it too. But real quick, bro, this video is brought to you by myself. I actually just wrote a book. It's called The Aesthetic Protocol. It's in the description, and it's a full book on everything I know to get lean. So if you want like the exact diet plan, the exact workout plan, and everything that I know about fitness, go check that out in the description. But anyways, the first step to getting lean and losing belly fat is eliminating the black pill mindset. One thing I've noticed from creating YouTube videos is I get a lot of comments from guys who will say things like, oh, well, actually, you did have good genetics, or actually, you are one of the few guys who was able to achieve it. And what this tells me is that there are still a lot of people who watch my videos who are just looking for reasons to think that they can't achieve their goals. But the truth is that through hard work and discipline, literally anyone can get lean. And if there's anything you can take away from this video, it's that you absolutely can get lean. If you do the right things, even if you're the most average guy in the world, or even if you have just horrible genetics, you can still get lean and shredded and look good. Anyone can do it. So one thing that helped me eliminate my black pill mindset was I just started having a vision for myself. I started imagining myself shredded. I started imagining myself lean, what I would look like if I was lean, how I would feel if I was lean, how I would be super happy with my physique if I lost the weight that I wanted to lose. So Arnold Schwarzenegger actually talked about that, but he talked about having a vision of yourself in the future. And I think that that's something that's really helpful, because if you can start seeing yourself and what you look like once you've actually achieved your goals, it makes it that much more tangible rather than just this ethereal thing that you kind of want, but you don't really know how to do it. It actually becomes this tangible thing that you're like, oh, this is actually something that I can do. This is what I'll look like. You know, start imagining yourself already achieving your goals. Now, in terms of practical steps, the way that you actually lose weight, you probably already know this, but it's by being in a calorie deficit. Being in a calorie deficit means that you are just simply burning more calories than what you're consuming, aka you're just eating less than what your body burns. It's pretty simple. Now, in my opinion, I've said this before, but not all calorie deficits are created equal. I think that it's going to be a lot easier if you eat a whole animal-based, high-protein diet rather than just trying to do the if it fits your macros approach. If you've never heard of that, the if it fits your macros approach basically just means that you can eat whatever you want as long as it falls within your macro allotment. But the issue with that is that it kind of gives people an excuse to just eat a bunch of junk food. And in my opinion, that's going to be way harder. You know, junk food is always going to be way more calorie dense. And if you try to just eat junk food and try to still be in a calorie deficit, you're going to feel like crap. So what I would recommend is just eat a lot of clean foods. If you don't know what eating clean means, well then, yes you do. Because it's what everyone already knows. It's literally just eating like chicken, steak, ground beef, like all the stuff that you already know you should be eating, fruit, vegetables, that kind of stuff that we all know is good for you. So just primarily focus on eating stuff like that. This will allow you to be in a calorie deficit, but also make it so that you're not miserable the whole time. And I would start off with a modest calorie deficit, to be honest with you. I wouldn't go crazy. Like, you don't need to jump into like a giant 1,000-calorie deficit. That's a mistake that I made, is I would just like want to lose a ton of weight as fast as possible. So I would jump into this huge deficit, and then I would end up crash dieting. I felt like crap, and then I'd rebound super hard and just eat a bunch of junk food on the weekend. So what I'd recommend is anywhere from like a 250 calorie to 500 calorie deficit. And if you don't like the idea of tracking calories, that's okay too. There is something called intuitive eating. Basically, it just means that you are good at understanding when you should stop eating. I think that if you're a beginner, there's going to be a lot of value in learning how to track calories. But again, it's not something that's totally necessary. At the end of the day, whether you're tracking it or not, you just need to eat less food than what you consume. Now, the next step I would have for you is we need to get in the gym and make sure that we're weightlifting. Yes, that's mandatory for every guy. If you're in your 20s to 30s, I believe everyone should be weightlifting. Even if you're older than that, you should be weightlifting. I just think it's pretty mandatory for everybody. We need to make sure that we're building muscle mass, because if we're trying to lose weight, we don't want to be in this situation where we're not building muscle mass or maintaining muscle mass and we just kind of like shrivel up and look like a small person. We don't want that. We want to maintain our muscles or even grow muscle at the same time. That is how we're going to get an aesthetic physique. So what I recommend is hit the gym at least 3 times a week, 45 minutes to an hour. It's all you need. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need to go in there for 3 hours or whatever, but just get in there 3 times a week, about 45 minutes. Make sure you're hitting the weights. Try to be intense. I think what matters a lot with building muscle is your intensity, making sure that you're putting in adequate effort to really stimulate the muscles and grow. But the good news is if you're what's called a newbie, meaning that this is your first time really getting into the gym, there's something called newbie gains, which basically is the quickest period of time that you're going to make gains. So it's actually a really exciting period. So I would really encourage you, if you don't go to the gym very often, we'll start going because you're going to see really quick progress, which is very exciting. And then the last way to lose your belly fat and get lean is just make sure that you're living an overall active lifestyle. This is what's going to increase what's called your NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Doesn't really matter. You don't need to remember that. What that means is basically just the amount of energy that you're burning from non-dedicated exercise. So it's things like walking. It's things like going up the stairs. It's things like taking your dog for a walk or bringing groceries in the house. Just stuff that isn't dedicated exercise time, but still is burning energy. So find ways to increase your NEAT. I would just rather increase my NEAT rather than having to do like dedicated cardio and getting on the Stairmaster for 30 minutes. To me, it feels a lot less of a chore to go and walk to the coffee shop and walk back than to have to get on the Stairmaster and do dedicated cardio. Maybe that's just a mental thing. Maybe for you, you like doing dedicated cardio. That's okay too. But my biggest advice would be just to find time when normally you're sitting around, or what's called sedentary, just meaning time that you're not really exercising. Find ways to move your body in that time. Again, just getting up, going for a walk, or maybe taking the stairs instead of taking the elevator. These are just little things that you can implement into your day-to-day life that will add up over time. Even if it's just an extra 100 to 200 calories that you burn every single day just from doing that, well, hey, that's actually a lot of calories that will add up over time. So that'll definitely help out as well. But I think at the end of the day, guys, it's no secret to getting lean. Really what it comes down to is fixing your diet, exercising more, and making sure that you're just overall living a relatively active lifestyle. But if you do all those things, I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to completely transform your physique. And then most importantly, guys, just remember that you can do this. Anyone can do this. You don't have to be Brad Pitt. You don't have to be Chris Hemsworth. You can just be a normal guy who decides to change your life today. So I would encourage everybody to do that. If you like that message, if you're just a normal guy just like me and get really excited about the idea of changing your body and want to get a good physique, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like. I have a lot more videos coming out just like this one. And anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.